first thing I want to know is why are all these bait shops closing?
Well, Walmart had a lot to do with that, but is also the transient or the recreational fishermen are not using Putnam County as a place to be and to stay and so forth. So when we started coming down here in the 50s, there were fish camps like the big place down here. There were Georgia Boys Fish Camp was here. You had fish camps all up and down the St. Johns River, especially in the Willaca area. And in the 60s and 70s, they evaporated. And so that's why they're gone. And the bait shops fed to those people. Now, there are a few small bait shops that have come about, but nothing like there was. There's a movement across several counties to create shared Ocklawaha River solution for everyone, and that's what I'm concerned about. Is that this resource that we have, the St. Johns River, which is fed by the Ocklawaha River, and the fresh water that comes into the St. Johns River from the Ocklawaha River, it affects directly the quality of the fishing habitat and recreational habitat here in Putnam County. And so it's time for us to take a look and start having a dialogue with the people that are the pro-Rodman folks, because I think both can live together. We need to take the assets that we have here and utilize them properly. Putnam County has lost fish camps all up and down. A few have returned, but nothing like it was back in the 60s. Bait shops have disappeared. Campgrounds have closed. And these are campgrounds on the lake down there. Vegetation regularly clogs the place so that people can't get in and out of there because of the vegetation that is killed and down there. We have to drain the reservoir a couple of times, or every 3 years, just to get the garbage out. The numbers of the people using that reservoir have gone down. So whether you're for or against the reservoir and the dam being there, your concern should be, are we getting our money's worth out of this thing? In other words, are there recreational stuff? Is there recreational assets that we could have that would benefit Putnam County? And is my concern. And so the numbers of the Rodman Reservoir have gone down, whereas the use of the natural Ocklawaha River and its assets have gone up. The lower St. John's estuary is where I am right now, is suffering due to the less fresh water flow. We had dolphins off my dock here this past few months ago. And the manatees and all of that kind of stuff, there's fewer of them here. I know that the manatees are elsewhere, but there's fewer of them here. Silver Springs community is now considered a blighted area. Between Palatka and St. Augustine, that was the two, or Palatka and Silver Springs were the two primary tourist attractions for Florida in the 50s and 60s. That was it, and so that is no more. And there's just been lost opportunities for us to create sustainable fishery and to reconnect with the wildlife habitats and advance recreational improvements. And that's what I'm most concerned about, is that. So that's what, we're losing out. When I look at what the plan was in 2007 for the East Coast Greenway and the recreational assets, right now, the only thing we have is one boat ramp left. So what happened to the economic benefit of Rodman Reservoir? It ain't there, and it hadn't been sustained. So what this effort is to do is to start bringing those recreational assets back, and so I'm really anxious to see how this new Riverway project works. What I've seen of it is really good, and we need input from all peoples about their needs and assets. So I would hope that as the river communities can come together and start talking logically and scientifically about what's needed and the assets that can possibly be brought here by federal and state funding, that's what I hope that this project will do. Also, think about it. We're really after the same things. When I talk to the pro-Rodman people and I talk to the environmental people with environmental concerns, they're talking about the same things. The fishing availability, access to the river, those kind of things are really important. And we can improve on all of that with or without the dam. Okay, so fact is that the big fish are in the river, and that's a fact. And so, I understand what he's saying, and I can appreciate that because they did create quite a fishing hole when they created that thing. But the old Ocklawaha River was an even better fishery. And I think that's what they don't understand. By putting that dam in, we don't have stripers anymore. The large catfish are gone. The mullet can't migrate into there. The shrimp can't migrate into there. All of that stuff is gone. The economic asset that they always want to talk about, show me. It ain't there. It's just not there. And you think about all of the economic benefits of the St. Johns River when they have the big bass tournaments, and even when they have the tournaments out of Rodman. They use the locks, and they come into the St. Johns River, and they go to Crescent Lake and Lake George, and that's where they catch the big ones, because that's where the fish bed. Plain and simple. Now, I'm sure they're bedding bass in Rodman. I'm sure there are, but not in the numbers that there are in Lake George and Lake Crescent. Just not there. It's just like me and my favorite fishing holes, okay? I'll point to them. Right over there, around Buzzard Island, and around the point there are my favorite fishing holes. And I go there every time I get in my kayak, every time I get in my flats boat. Those are the places that I start fishing because I've caught fish there for 60 years. But I catch less now than I did 10 years ago. And it's really amazing. I was just sharing about, I look at the pictures of the bass and so forth I caught last year, right down the shoreline right here. I haven't caught any this year, any. And I guess I'm using the wrong bait, or I ain't smart enough. It's in 1962. And it's when we first started building our house here. And so one of our favorite things to do was to get into our 14-foot aluminum boat with an 18-horse Johnson motor on it, get two tanks or two 5-gallon tanks of gas, and head up the Ocklawaha River. So it's 20 miles to the Ocklawaha from here. So we would go as far as we could on one tank of gas, and when we ran out, we turned around and came back. But the trip was just wonderful because my dad and I got to go up as far as we could up the Ocklawaha and the winding way, just like the old river boats used to do. And then as soon as we decided to turn around, he would put me on the front of the boat, and we would fly fish back all the way, until it was getting to where we had to head out. And that was my memory of the Ocklawaha River. The water was so clear at that point in time, you could see, and I was fly fishing, and so the water was so clear, you could see the size of the fish that was going to hit your fly. And so if it was too small, you pulled it away. If it was a big one, you let it sit. And we just had a great time, and we did that, I would say every other week we took that trip all the way up the Ocklawaha River as far as we could get, drifted all the way back as far as we could till we had to start motoring home. But that was my memory of the Ocklawaha River.
The dam in
68. Yeah.
68.
68. So we had just actually finished the house and had just moved here when Johnson came to town and did what he did. Yeah. And so it created a lot of jobs for a little while here. Yeah. But then again, when they punched through the aquifer, and when they, it was obvious that this was not a good decision, even though, the Cross Florida Barge Canal had been planned by the Spanish back in 1760s or early as that. They wanted a way to get across Florida, and so it kept being revived and revived and revived until, somebody had the brilliant idea, let's get it started, and the dynamite flowed.